snow too. We got 3 inches of heavy snow and all my tulips are gone. And I had them covered, but it didn't matter. The snow was too heavy. 3 inches.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a bummer.
So
about what we got to.
Roberta, is that a real picture? Is that the
Yep.
real? snow?
I
That's
took that
good.
2 minutes ago.
Sure.
Yeah, I just was talking to JT Rowe, and he said they got about a ½ inch this morning or so in Toronto or
Yeah.
in Ottawa.
Yeah, we got about 2 inches. Well, but this much on top of my hot tub.
Just a lake and water and boats out there in my view. So
Mm. Hey, Nancy, we're almost wearing the same color.
yeah, I know. Twins.
See, I don't always wear black and red.
But you do a lot. It's a good color. They're good colors on you.
Yeah, it's my mother's fault. Well, you guys are quiet. That must mean you're zoomed out.
After that message from Tommy the other day, it's like I feel like, yeah, everyone's in my face. I need to back off. That was a good comment I thought she had, or observation,
Greg, I did the picture of this is my yard 2 minutes ago, about 5 minutes ago. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Cheryl, you're on mute. There you go.
Roberta, I've changed mine too. That was taken this morning.
Oh, geez.
We just, and we've been out on that picnic table having a nice barbecue just a week ago.
Right. Right. It's awful.
Crazy.
Hey, Dave, Clardy, are y'all doing the Major League Baseball communications thing like last year? Are you doing that this year? Okay, because I've been watching some games, but I hadn't noticed really when they do, the replays to see if your stuff's on there, but that's good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not only a sponsorship, but we have corporate headquarters in New York. So all of that's tied to each of the bullpens and the dugouts. And then 11 of the stadiums are 100% our product.
Oh, wow.
The new one in Dallas, the new stadium, is 100% us.
And they showed it when they have the games on TV. They go to the dugout.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave, can you do something about the replay officials? Because Braves got screwed about a week ago on the worst replay call I've ever seen. And I'm just staring at the Mitel logo going, dang it, Mitel. Every time you see those guys, it's good and bad. Half of the fans are going to be really happy with the outcome. The other half are going to have a negative association with the Mitel logo.
Did you see that video from a few years ago? I know this was college and not major league, but some college kids figured out the phone number for the bullpen for their baseball stadium, and they called and pretended to be the dugout and said, "Get, Tom Brannon up and get him warmed up." Yeah, I want it now. And so all of a sudden he trots out from the dugout and goes out to the bullpen to warm up. I'm sure that wouldn't happen with Mitel. You couldn't, break in like that, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
The Braves had a bullpen pitcher that, how they'll show the bullpen and you'd see the guy coming out the door to warm up. Well, every time they would cut to the bullpen, he would walk out the door. And so they were sitting in there watching it on TV, and every time they would cut, he was like he was standing by the door because he wanted to be on TV. And so once the crew figured that out, they would keep panning over to the dugout, and he would come running out the door, and then 30 seconds later, they would chew it again. You'd see him coming out the door again. It was hilarious.
Oh, great.
Well, you could do a virtual game, Dave, and we could, we could be in our boxes, in our home, watching it.
Yeah, I miss going to the games and bringing local consultants. It's
They're open here, Dave. So, just saying.
yeah, they haven't divvied out those passes to me yet, though.
Yeah. Well, as soon as they do, you know who to call.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to start getting them in Q2. They're going to open it up for us employees to get out after Q2. So,
well, they should be 50% occupancy by then too. So
yeah,
be a lot easier to get in.
Tom, I'm guessing you're in Atlanta somewhere. Whereabouts?
Marietta.
Marietta. I'm in Gwinnett County, Lawrenceville.
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Good to meet you.
And I'm attached to the Stripers minor league ball field right here on my back gate. So I walk from my apartment over to the ball field, during the minor league game. So yeah, it's really nice.
That's awesome. Yep, that's awesome.
We get free tickets since we share a parking lot. So.
But they're almost as because some seats they're actually more expensive than the Braves. So the Atlanta Braves. So I was surprised at how minor league's kind of getting these days.
Yeah, it's fun to go watch though.
Absolutely.
We get the apartment complex I'm living in right now. We get a lot of the younger players that'll move in here throughout the season, so we get to know them and hang out at the pool on the weekends every once in a while.
So very cool.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the group, Tim. I'm out in Carrollton, Georgia.
Oh, very good. Just up in your neck of the woods the other day.
My first face-to-face client meeting yesterday.
Wow.
And it was quite momentous, to say the least. I wore a suit, I dressed up, and I joked with the team who I've known for a long time, but I was like, it's the first meeting I've been to. In fact, this is the first meeting I've worn pants to in over 13 years.
Yeah.
Too much information.
Way too much personal. Just to clarify, down. Just to head off where that was going to go.
It was your kilt you were wearing, Tom, your kilt?
No, I really want a kilt. It's definitely on my. And I was trying to go to Scotland this year, and I'm not going to make it, but I think next year I'm going to go, and definitely we'll get one while I'm there.
Hey, there's 11 pieces in your whole outfit. If you want to get started, the best way to get started is to go to the rental places and buy their off inventory, so you can get beautiful stuff for about a quarter of the price. And then you can build the pieces if you want the dress formal or you want the casual outfit, because my husband's Scottish, so yeah.
And Roberta knows this store in Port Perry, which is where I used to live. We have what's called the Wee Tartan Shop, and he does do rentals, and you can buy there. So everything's Scottish. It's right in Port Perry. So when you come to Toronto, guys, we're just outside.
Hey, Tom, I'm curious, when you first met with your client, did you shake hands like normal?
It was a hodgepodge of not shaking hands, fist bumping, and shaking hands. And so, yeah, it's a mess right now. And, you don't want to offend someone by going in for the handshake. But, in fact, there was an article, I think this morning in the Wall Street Journal about that, how it's just, we're in this area now where it's very uncomfortable, regardless of what you do. So.
Hey, Tom, I like the idea about the pins, kind of like in Disney, where they wore the pins of what language they speak. Remember how you mentioned the pins of, you're going to do the handshake, the high five, or the big hug? I like that idea.
Now, did you wear pants to this meeting?
I did. I was like, it's been 13 months. Heck yeah, and I'm going for it. So.
Oh, this isn't virtual. This is live. Whoops.
This was a live. Yeah. Crap.
Hey, Steve, I think we need a poll for what was everybody's first in-person meeting like since the pandemic, because I agree with Tom. It's a mess. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what you should do. What do you wear? Where do you sit?
You can. Go ahead, Tom.
I shook one guy's hand, and then I fist bumped another guy's hand, so it made the guy's hand that reached out to shake my hand feel bad for making me shake hands. And it was.
So only his hand felt bad.
You should just do the ankle tap.
I never shake hands with anybody. It solves the problem.
So, you know what you can do? This sounds bizarre. But my younger brother who, passed away, about 2 months ago, when I met with the hospice head physician, he shook my hand and then he immediately went over to, an area where he could, use his hand sanitizer. So you can bring a hand sanitizer with you and spray everybody's hands and then shake everybody's hands,
Yeah, right.
You know what? 18 months ago, people would be offended if you did that.
I know.
Very true.
Well, look at it now. If you don't wear a mask when you go into the bank, they think you're going to rob them, right? 10 years ago, or 2 years ago. Now you're without a mask, they're going to arrest you.
I was just gonna say though, be careful with the hand sanitizer you use, because I'm allergic to a lot of them and I've had some really bad reactions. So do be careful what you use. It does affect other people.
How do you know what does and doesn't?
Well, I had a really bad reaction to one in a store. That's called the, was it the Bay? I can't remember which store. I think it was Bay I walked into, and it was so bad. I had to run out and I almost gagged. It was so strong. And I found they used it in all their stores. So I had to put in a letter on that one.
Wow. Well, just a quick funny story about my brother. So I ended up doing the eulogy. He was special needs. He was manic depressive most of his life. I come from a family of 12 brothers and sisters, and so he didn't have any money, but he always got something for the family every Christmas. So one year it was candy, another year it was special sponges from Target. And then one year, which was fabulous, he got us all hand sanitizer. So he was a man way ahead of his time, which is what I said in the eulogy. So.
Aw, I love that.
So Steve, he has my philosophy with gifts: edible, burnable, drinkable.
Ooh.
All at the same time?
Wow.
That
also
also
makes
makes
them non-regiftable. So that also is good.
Right. And by the way, the candles are natural. They're no fake stuff.
Cheryl, aren't all gifts burnable?
By the way, the crew that knows me relates to that, right, Fran?
Absolutely.
Hey, well, let's get started, everyone. Thanks again for being on. This is actually week 4 of Microsoft Teams. We were actually going to go 3 weeks, and then a suggestion came up last week that we have a round table and a friendly panel discussion. So we're going to have Sanjay first present his slides, do a recap of last week, along with the slides you didn't see, and then we'll get into that. So we are very fortunate to have Kevin Keeler on again. Hey, Kevin, give a wave to everybody. And Kevin is an independent consultant, but he exclusively does Microsoft Teams. So he knows all the pros, all the cons, all of the good things that Microsoft is rolling out. So he's really a wealth of information. Kevin and I have collaborated a couple of times as well. He's one of the experts on BC strategies like myself. We've got Sanjay from Vonage. I'll never try to pronounce your last name, Sanjay, but anyway, so Sanjay is the chief architect from Vonage. So he'll have some good information as well as solutions today. And of course, we have Dave Hardy back, which Dave has a ton of information also about Teams. He's been really well educated on it over time. And lo and behold, the gentleman who did the whole demo last week, that if you were on last week, is actually Dave Hardy's son. So, very interesting. So I would ask that everybody mute themselves this week and actually turn off your video if that's okay, because once we get to the panel, you'll be able to, see those who are on the panel. Okay, so let me share my screen here. And let me go to the slide deck. Okay, so today is Fireside Chat number 52, which in a given year, that would be, one full year, but we've actually had some time off in between. So we're well over a year at this point. Who knew that COVID would go this long? Who knew that Fireside Chats would go this long? So all good. We've got plenty of topics coming up as well. So a quick poll for all of you. So the first question is, how many hours do you spend on the average in meetings weekly? Okay, so let me launch the poll. How many hours do you spend on average in meetings weekly? And if you could please just answer that. And I'll give us a few seconds here. So there was a study done, as you're filling this out, by a Harvard business person from Harvard Business Review. Great article. I'll mention that article in a minute. So let me just stop the polling here. Let me take a quick snapshot. And interestingly, let me just share the results. So we have 2 winners here, 5 and 10. I'm really surprised. I'm at least halftime myself. So to see that the numbers are that low, that's kind of interesting. So let me relaunch the poll. Second question, question 2 is, how many of those hours or how many hours of meetings do you find unproductive weekly? Okay, so kind of think about how you filled in the last one and then figure how many hours are actually unproductive where, boy, you thought that was a waste of your time or minimal productivity, etc. Okay, so if you can complete this, I'd appreciate it. And I'll show you the results from the Harvard article in a moment as well. So, wow, this is very interesting. Okay, I'll give it 5 more seconds. And if any member ever wants results of any of these polls for your own purposes, just let me know at any time. I'd be glad to share that with you. Okay, so let me stop the polling here. Let me take a quick snapshot again, so I have it for the record. And then let me share my results or the results. And so looks like the winner is 1 hour a week, followed right beyond that to 3 hours. And if you actually go down 5%, a full 5% say that 15 plus hours are unproductive weekly. Boy, that really says a lot. So thank you everybody for sharing. Great stuff. Let me just get out of the polls here. Let me keep going here. So the so recap happenings again. Thanks to Kevin and to Sanjay and to Dave these last 2 weeks. It's been great, great material, I think, for educating everybody on Microsoft Teams, especially where they're at in their timeline. Carrie's Law continues. We're going to announce the date shortly when that's going to be presented in a private session to all the members on a fireside chat. The Harvard Business Review meeting, the article was entitled, Why Your Meetings Stink and What to Do About It. It's a great read. Do a look up. Just to recap, 23 hours in meetings per week this was for executives. 8 were found unproductive, a full, 33%, a full third. That's big. Now it was interesting. The leaders actually thought that, they were very productive, but then the workers found that they were unproductive. So that's kind of where that came from. But anyway, 90% reported daydreaming in meetings, 73% used meeting times to do work. I've never done that. I don't know about all of you, but I've never done that. So leaders consistently rate their own meetings very favorably, highly favorably. So it's from where the individual sits. There was a survey done, found that 79 managers feel that the meetings are very productive, and only 56% said something about meetings initiated afterwards. So attendees who are the most productive are the ones that feel the meetings are most effective. And who's that most? The leader. So it's kind of a self-awareness article, if you will, and gives some great insights to those that lead the meetings and feel that they're going great. Aha Mamas continues, so please, chat in the room, especially if you have a question for any of our colleagues who will be on the panel today, okay? And please mute yourself and shut off the video just for today as we get into these particular areas. I just have to hide, I apologize. Where is that? Where do I hide members that are not on video? I forget. Okay, well, let me keep going anyway. I'm sorry.
If you
So this-
go to the top right and
under more.
under view, you can show non-video, and you can, if you and then if you click one of the panels that is not video, you can say hide non-video.
Okay.
Benefits of having our personal CTO coach here. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Harry.
You got
Okay,
that, Steve?
well, let me,
You got it?
I think I got it. I don't know. I can't really tell because I'm,
Well, do you see the non-video, or you do see them?
well, I don't see them. So I don't know if
Well, then-
everybody
then-
sees the non-video participants.
Everybody has to do it individually. You can't do
Oh,
it.
okay,
You
got
can't
it.
do it on a meeting for everybody.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Harry. Thanks for being my admin. I really appreciate it, by the way.
Send you my
So-
bill, don't worry.
So this week we've got Kevin back, Dave, and Sanjay, which I just mentioned a while ago. Next week we're going to have Molly Zarek was kind enough to pause her talk for next week. We'll also have Denise Monroe on talking about POTS lines, and we're going to hopefully have Uma on as well with a product that as POTS lines go away, what are some solutions and what are some options that are available. And I don't know if you're seeing it, but I am seeing more and more activity from multiple carriers. They're all on this vendetta to go to fiber by the end of this year. I think it's being led by AT&T, but I've seen Windstream, Crown Castle is a big regional vendor for data networks in the Northeast, and some other nationals. So it's a pretty big topic. So Nancy, oh no, I'm sorry. So Harry, I'm going to pause here and let you do your infomercial if you'd like this week.
Can we skip? Because I'm
Sure. Yep. So let me we had a backup.
I'll take it up next week though. Thanks, Steve.
Oh, okay, that's great. Thanks, Harry. So yeah, we had a backup with Nancy just in case. So Nancy, let me share your slides. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Harry.
All
Go ahead,
righty. Thanks, everybody. I am with Primus Group. Next slide, please.
Sure.
And what I wanted to talk today about was a client that we had that had a dilemma. They could go this way, which was transform their contact center to the cloud. They could go that way, which was to upgrade their existing premise cloud center, or they could find another way. And they weren't ready for the transition to the cloud. They weren't willing to spend the time and money that they needed for the upgrade, but yet they really wanted omni-channel and state-of-the-art contact center capabilities quickly, and they wanted them inexpensively. Next slide.
Sure.
So the solution they chose was the other way. It was a middle ground option to doing the premise upgrade, major upgrade, or moving to the cloud, and a good interim solution. So it overlaid onto their existing premise-based call center, very few modifications, gave them the omni-channel capability. They were able to implement it very quickly and very easily. They chose to put it in on premise instead of in the cloud. Use their existing equipment. They didn't have to get any new hardware, reduce the wait time that they had to get results, and it could be customized, and it worked with any existing call center or PBX. It was Avaya across the board for this one. So that kept them in the Avaya fold. So installed in less than a week, zero disruption, non-intrusive, and a good ROI. Next slide. Okay, so and these are all the apps that they had. You can see that there's everything that you would find in an omni-channel contact center, the chat bots, the click to be called, the callbacks, the drop calls, post call surveys, social media monitoring, video, and everything that you would find if they had gone to the cloud or had done the major upgrade. Next slide. And here you can see kind of a comparison of what it would have been had they done the upgrade to their system. That takes a lot longer to do. It was very costly. And so you can see how much more quickly their ROI started. And plus then it gave them time to save money to do the big upgrade or to go to the cloud down the road, because they were getting that ROI sooner, and got them sold on having all of the capabilities for that they would want when they do make the move. So if consultants have any clients, you may run into those that don't want to move yet. Here's something they might want to consider.
Great.
Thank you very much. And
thanks,
there's
Nancy. Chuck again is on a small hiatus from the fireside chats. He's got a very intense project going on. So he did send me a little blurb, and we are pleased to announce the SCTC board and committee members will have access to a new collab tool for persistent chat, IM, document share, etc., and anticipate the tool being available to members shortly. Stay tuned for a demo of the product on an upcoming fireside chat. Looking forward to seeing you all in San Diego, November 1. So Sanjay, do you want me to turn the screen over to you, or do you want me to push your slides? What would you like? Oh,
yeah, I'll share the screen. So if you,
sure.
if you stop sharing them now.
Yeah, I will. Yep. Here we go.
All right.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I'm assuming you're seeing my screen now.
Yep. Yes, we are.
So let's start off with, thanks, Steve. And let's start off with addressing the most important question of the day, which is how to pronounce my last name. So I kind of broke it down. Steve and I have known each other for a long, long time. So next week's fire chat, we should start with a poll on how that's pronounced. So that's Srinivasan. There you go. So what I was going to present was I titled my presentation "Integrating into Microsoft" versus just integrating into Microsoft Teams. Obviously, the integration into Microsoft Teams is a critical part of it. As Dave and Mike Kevin had also talked about, Microsoft is a key part of the ecosystem, a critical part of the ecosystem from now to ever, right? And so we certainly at Vonage view integrating into Microsoft ecosystem as a very critical path to our success, to our customers' success. And so we have a very focused program around integration into Microsoft. And integration into Microsoft means several things that I'll now cover. I'm going to skip all the animation here. This is some animated slide. So I view this world, and we view this world in sort of, at least from our perspective, 4 critical quadrants here, for the 4 quadrants shown here. At the top left is where an enterprise uses Teams as the collaboration platform and wants an external cloud PBX for reasons we'll dive into. So what you won't see on this is, of course, where an enterprise has gone all in on Microsoft and uses Teams for both the collaboration as well as the cloud PBX portion. If that was the case, then yeah, I certainly wouldn't be having this conversation. The second very common, starting to show up now, not very common, sorry, but starting to emerge as a very interesting field, certainly how we see it, and we're starting to see customers ask for it, especially upmarket customers, is where they have selected Microsoft Teams as the PBX, obviously also as the collaboration platform, but need to connect their contact center platform and contact center as a service platform into the Teams ecosystem, where Teams plays the PBX role, meaning the agent is reached via Teams. So those are the 2 main things that we see we are running into quite often. That the Microsoft Teams plus Cloud PBX is the most common, probably in our funnel. As I think about our funnel, I think that and not in terms of the number of entries in the funnel, but in terms of the value of the funnel, those that require Microsoft Teams integration of some kind tend to make up a healthy 35 to 40, if not 50% of that funnel in value. In order to complete out the story, we also, based on our position in the market in terms of where we see contact center play, since contact center as a service is a big focus of ours. Historically, we've been focused on Salesforce, but a year or so ago, or maybe 2 years ago, we added on focus onto Microsoft Dynamics CRM, as well as ServiceNow. But in the theme of Microsoft, integrating CCaaS plus Microsoft Dynamics is a key initiative for us as well. And then here and there, we do run into customers that have Dynamic CRM and are looking for a classic cloud PBX deployment model. So that's the ecosystem or the world that we see Microsoft and integrating into Microsoft. And I'm going to focus kind of the rest of the conversation on the top left and the bottom right quadrants. Skip the Microsoft Teams tutorial since we all have had it. So as we think about Teams and Cloud PBX combination, there is definitely a split starting to appear in the buying audience. Those that want completely tight integration between Microsoft Teams and the Cloud PBX using direct routing so that their end users will simply live within Teams or make all their telephony and video interactions through Teams. And that we call the embedding option, and then extending that embed option with capabilities that Microsoft Teams today doesn't have. Certainly on the PBX side, all the PBX functionality is coming from the Cloud PBX, which is the Vonage PBX. But we've also added, and we've seen requests for adding media channels into Teams, and we just launched the ability to have SMS and MMS delivered inside Microsoft Teams, and then certainly adding other social media channels. So fax is something that is still out there today, and everybody keeps asking, are people still faxing? Absolutely. So and not obviously coming down, but there's still a large base out there. And then integration into non-CRM, non-Microsoft assets, CRMs, contact centers, smart numbers, et cetera, apply. And I think we've learned from the past two sessions that the direct routing integration method of Microsoft Teams is the one that most people know about. And then if you want to get the full embedded functionality of the user experience in Teams, where they can make and call all calls from within Teams and pure Teams experience, you also need to add in the phone system. Even though you're not going to use Microsoft's phone system capabilities fully, you're going to have that licensing in the mix. And as customers grow, as a customer base that is larger in size, that can start to be a financial issue for them. And so a separate body of services has started to appear where it is possible to integrate into the Teams infrastructure at the client level. Think of it as a tabbed app. Microsoft Teams has a app store inside itself where you can add these integrations. And we're starting to see success. We thought people would say, that's not an ideal user experience, et cetera, and they wouldn't use that. But it's true that it's not the ideal user experience, but when dollars and cents are important, it's starting to take root here. And so we've sold and deployed some large clients where we are inside Teams as in the App Store route. Almost think of it as a tabbed app. So our desktop appears inside the Teams shell, and then the interaction happens within the Teams shell, but inside our app. So that's where the experience can be not ideal, but we've found that people get used to it or fairly quickly, especially when the financials don't require that $8 phone system add-on per user, which when you're talking thousands of users, it can be significant. So that's an interesting development for us, and we see more of that happening. And I thought I'm not going to, I can when I share these slides afterwards, I think there was there's always this discussion on where do people need an external cloud PBX? What are those features that Microsoft today doesn't have that requires the end customer or makes the end customer ask, I need to go to a cloud-based, another cloud-based PBX or cloud UC platform, at least for the telephony features. And so we have a nice sheet that does and I suppose the others in the market have similar spreadsheets. Certainly share this one when I share the slide deck, and you'll get a feel for all the normal areas that you see customers still asking for, where today Teams doesn't have it. So I'm just going to run through this quickly in the interest of time. So the list is fairly extensive, right? And so when the question comes, who are the target customers that are looking for and at the external PBX connection option? This becomes a key reason as to why those customers are asking for it. Okay, I'm also now I'm going to switch focus a little bit here so there's the combination of Microsoft Teams and the Cloud PBX that we have talked quite a bit, and I'm going to talk about in the next slide why people are going there. But maybe I missed the slide here. Hold on. Yeah, it looks like somehow I lost a slide, a key slide. Yeah, this one. Sorry, I wanted to do this one first. So what are the main reasons I and we as Vonage see where somebody's saying, let's go get the external cloud PBX and let the PBX part be handled by the external service provider and not Microsoft Teams? These are the main reasons that we see routinely, which are in a large enterprise, if you're talking thousands of users, they may not want integration for all of them, again, for the dollars and cents reasons. So only a subset, and could be the majority of the users, but still a subset of the users get the full experience. And then the remaining users are on the external UC platform. So we've started to see this model happen quite a bit. The second is most of these mid to large enterprises have extensive integrations that their current phone system have or has into their CRM systems and workflow systems, and recreating that in a pure Microsoft Teams environment can be challenging. There may not be an answer for that. And so, sorry, somebody has to go. I'm getting a lot of echo on one person.
I got it.
Okay. So that's one. The third one, and the phones, of course, may not be that relevant much anymore with the number of people wanting phones dropping quickly. ATAs and overhead paging, all the things that facilities still need in terms of analog handoff is a good reason why people come to external service providers. Already talked about the phone system add-on features, so I'll skip that. A huge reason that we run into is quality of service, custom network. I want to bring my own PSTN, not through the direct routing option that you think about, but I'm a large corporate with field offices. I want to maintain the PSTN through the corporate network into my field offices, and you'll need to be the carrier to the field offices. Strangely enough, I'm seeing these in certain verticals. That seems to be a common theme because corporate wants to do a lot of before the handing off the call to the agency, they want to do some analysis on the call, some treatments on the call. We see that. Deployment models where SD-WAN is required, we see the external provider do well. Hybrid deployments of SIP trunks with hosted seats is a common one. And the last two are starting to be a little bit significant in some accounts. As we understand it today and as we've observed it, the Teams mobile client does not do a handoff between Wi-Fi and LTE. You have to terminate, reestablish. And so if you have an app or a service that can do that smooth handoff, that becomes compelling to mobile or mobile sales teams. And then lastly is the white glove implementation support. All right. The next quadrant that I wanted to talk about where we're starting to see a lot of interest is Teams integration with contact centers. This is Microsoft's standard view of how that's going to happen. Today, it's mostly the connect model with a straightforward direct routing implementation between the Teams PBX. In this case, Teams is the PBX. That's why you see the phone system block there. And then the partner solution, which is the contact center. And the arrow there on the left is the direct routing piece. The next model that they're about to GA is where Teams is exposing APIs in order to have better presence exchange between the PBX and the contact center. And this is where we think there's going to be significant traction because right now with just the connect model, with no presence being shared, it's tough to know whether John and Jane, the agent, are on a personal call for the contact center with a just Teams call. But with this API capability, that problem is going to be solved, and we're quite excited about it. So, and Vonage is very invested in this integration, both on the connect and the extend. And way off in the future is where Microsoft wishes you would build your contact center platform using their SDKs, sort of the Twilio and Amazon approach, but that's quite a ways away. So, last slide I have is how do you ensure success with integration? So these are just my thoughts that we have learned over the years or so. It's not plug and play. Success will be in the details. Having expertise in SIP, the protocol, unfortunately, in your team in some manner is a plus because because of the first bullet. It's not plug and play. If you understand how Microsoft Teams works, and Kevin talked about this as well, is PowerShell knowledge, because a lot of how Microsoft automates provisioning, licensing is through PowerShell, and knowledge of PowerShell is almost a must, if not at least a huge plus. Presence, how presence and call flows work is extremely important, so you can set the right expectations with the customers up front. Otherwise, there'll be a lot of unhappy dialogue afterwards. As long as they're informed up front, most customers are okay with how it works. It isn't ideal for specific flows, but work is happening for Microsoft to change that as well. There are some Microsoft Teams scaling issues. You've all heard about the outages as well, but certainly it takes a while. Literally takes 24 to 48 hours for when the integration is turned on, or for the integration to actually kick in. So that you've got to plan for it. How 911 works or will work with Microsoft Teams over time, very, very important. So it's right now best to defer that to the Cloud PBX, which is your expertise anyway. And above all, you got to have patience with Microsoft support. Our experience has been okay. And if you know people, certainly, or if you have bought the Platinum or Premier support package, that helps. But as to be expected, it is a learning curve for everybody. So that's that's how I see the Microsoft world, Steve and team. So that's my slide deck.
That's it. Okay. Well, thanks, Sanjay. Very interesting information. Just to kind of start things off here. So let me just, where is, I apologize. I'm looking for, share screen. Sorry, I lost that. So yeah, so Kevin, I know you probably have a couple of thoughts around what Sanjay just shared. You had some in the panel there. Why don't we kind of kick off with that, and then of course we'll have some specific questions. Okay, and and by the way, everybody, we're starting a little late, so we might continue this beyond this week if we have a lot of questions going on. So we'll figure out what week that will be. Okay, Kevin.
Yeah, well, thanks. Thanks again for inviting me back. I feel like an honorary member of the Sctc, and certainly, people have reached out and I've had some good discussion offline. So if you have any questions about Teams or you have clients that are wrestling with doesn't make sense, please do feel free to reach out to me. I think Vonage is doing some great things. last week with Enterprise Connect, we did a virtual thing with Alex Gruber from Vonage and had a great discussion. And I think, Vonage is definitely embracing the scenarios where there's integration. In the chat, I said, I think there's a few questions on where you put those check marks. And it
Yes, yes.
because Teams is, as I talked about in the couple of weeks, Teams is rapidly advancing, and even somebody like myself that spends my time trying to keep up to date, it's very difficult to do that. I guess the thing that I would say is, and I brought it up in my previous fireside chats, is just make sure that when you're solving the PSTN issue, for many organizations, that's the minority of the communications challenge, perhaps 1/3 or 1/4 of it. So just make sure that your personal experience and maybe PSTN and voice was the gold standard, and that's absolutely true for many organizations still. But for many organizations, getting the meetings part right is the piece, right? So I think just keep that in mind. As everything Sanjay presented was fantastic, and I think Vonage and their API approach, I think it's really impressive.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, thanks, Kevin. Dave, any comments from the Mitel side to kick this off?
You're on mute, Dave.
Take yourself off mute, Mr. Clardy. Thank you.
Thank you. Like Sanjay, big uptick in contact center and APIs. And, the PSTN and SIP aspect of it does play into it. But I'm also hearing from our sales engineering and product teams that, the internal dialing directories, wanting to keep their internal, if they're on 4-digit or 5-digit dialing streams, they really don't want to change it up. And if they have to start changing numbers, that changes the whole aspect of the dial plans. And if you look at a big enterprise company, I know it was a big deal for us when we went from 3 to 4 and then 4 to 5, and now we're on 6-digit dialing. Just as a global organization, you can only imagine how impactful that would be for any customer. But I think when Sanjay was going through the list of telecom features, I agree with Kevin. It's ever changing, and I didn't put mine up there because of just that. You can have a checkbox today, tomorrow it's there. So, and again, the dynamics of the APIs between Microsoft and all of us vendors, it's something, it drives our product people crazy to try to stay up on. So, it's a challenge. Let's just say that. A little note of history, but when Microsoft first launched OCS, we were in 21 of their demo system sites. If you opened up underneath the table, there was Mitel sitting underneath the table. And the product manager for what we call our collaboration tool today used to be called Your Assistant. And they went to Microsoft and showed it to them. And the product manager almost lost his job over it, because, as you know, Kevin, anything you show them in that building in Washington State, they can do whatever they want with it, and when you sign in, you're literally signing that statement. And when they launched their next application, it looked so much like Mitel Your Assistant. I think Terry Matthews, our founder, was ready to kill the guy's name was Stephen Beamish at the time, literally kill him, because he went into that building and showed them what our desktop appliance looked like. But anyhow, a little history there.
Well, and I think that's interesting, Dave. And I mean, like I'm in Mississauga, right outside Toronto. So Mitel is a wonderful Canadian success story. Kind of after the Nortel success story kind of went away, right? So, I really think it's important. Like I saw Roberta put a note in the chat, in that, you really need to figure out what your requirements are, because I remember back in the OCS days, and even today, like, the thing that I think people like about the Mitel solution is, and this is why, maybe we're using Zoom today as well. It's like there's a simplicity aspect, there's a focused aspect, and I think, and Sanjay, you spoke about it, like, fax is important if you need fax, right? And there's a lot of organizations that need it. So I think none of these solutions is the perfect solution for everybody. And really a really important part, and I think that this is where the SCTC members, have bring tremendous value, is figuring out what the real requirements are, right? Because, you know, it is difficult to move from 3-digit to 4-digit to 5-digit dialing, but for some organizations, you just click to call the name and they go, well, that's no problem. But for other organizations, that's a huge hurdle. And maybe it's an insurmountable hurdle, right? And if you don't have fax, maybe that just like tanks the whole project. So I really think, all of the solutions we're talking today are fantastic, industry leading solutions. And the key piece is not kind of arguing in isolation what the best solution is, but making sure that you understand the pros and cons, and then, map that directly to the requirements, right? So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we cannot, for the sake of the customer, afford to get into a religious battle around
right.
features and functionality. It still surprises me how people are excited about the most fundamental of features, right? Voicemail to email still becomes, oh, I didn't know you had that.
Right.
And I go, wow, that tells you where the actual adoption of cloud is still fairly young. And as you move up the customer profile, you're going to run into a lot of unknowns. And we've gotten so focused on the collaboration part of it, but how the rest of the business gets work done behind the scenes, regulatory requirements, site survivability, all of that are still very critical. And so our job, at least as I view my job, is to guide the customer saying, yeah, use Teams for that, use us for this, use something else for that.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure that it all gets integrated, because we're now in the integration game versus replacing point solutions for the customer. And I see a lot of that right now in the customers that have widely adopted Microsoft Teams as their base platform. They're looking for help with not how to use meetings better, but how to integrate the rest of the business into that infrastructure better. And so there's many opportunities, both a challenge and an opportunity. The same as Dave. I have customers who go, no, I must keep my 7-digit dial.
Right.
Even if you come in as the cloud PBX, you can't make me change it. It must be preserved. And I have customers who go, why do I need phones, right? I'm just clicking and dialing anything anyway. So you'll have both. And it's your choice to decide which ones to go after and which profile customer to go after. And I think there's enough complexity out there for everybody to do well.
Well, and I think what I would say to the consultants is, I believe, my role is to push back a little bit, so if people say, we've always had phones on the desk, and I think acknowledge that, but I think it's also, I try to encourage people to do a pilot. So, I remember doing a big consulting firm here in Canada. We went to one office. We took all the IT people. We did a road trip because most of the IT people stay in the ivory tower and they don't go to actual offices. So I brought them all to an office and we did that and we tried things, right? We said, and this was in the OCS R2 days, let's see what happens if we don't give everybody a desk phone. Now, it might crash and burn, and in some organizations it does. And we changed their dial plan, and some things worked and some things didn't. And I think your role as a consultant as part of that requirements, it's not just to capture what they've always done, because, if we did that, we'd still probably be using the telegraph or whatever, right? So I think, it's important to do some pilots for the purpose of, they're not proof of concepts, because the technology works, right? The Vonage solution works, the Mitel solution works, Teams works. The pilot is to figure out, does it work for the community of users I'm trying to solve? And I think, what I've tried to share is Microsoft Teams, if you need site survivability, probably not the optimal solution. If contact center is your primary focus, Microsoft Teams probably isn't going to be where you start. But there are certain organizations where you do pilots and you say, okay, it works well for this collection of users. So I don't know, Dave, does that resonate with you?
Absolutely, Kevin. And as you saw last week, my second or third slide was, we do not try to compete with Microsoft. We try to enhance the user experience dependent upon that company's culture, their needs, and again, like you said, Kevin, to the consultants on this call, I think that's a big value that the consultant community brings to the table, is doing that needs assessment and understanding the true needs of the client. And if their culture will not accept not having a desk phone, or their culture will not accept, you've got to roll with that and accept the fact that you got to mitigate disruption of their business. And the sole intent is not to put another piece of software or another device on their desktop, but to enhance the customer experience and to increase the business continuity within that organization. I think as consultants, that's what everyone on this call goes in with, a mission. And whether there's a consultant involved in a project or not, and a customer says, I want to exercise my investment in Microsoft Teams, we're like all ears to listen to what they have to say and to help them. So I can't agree more.
Yeah, I think that's well said, because, I think sometimes the people like us that focus on the communications, the unified communications piece, most business users, they don't care. They just want to get their job done, right? So it's, to your point, Dave, it's you can only disrupt them so much, right? Like sometimes there's a willingness, but ultimately if Monday comes and they've got their work to do, they don't have an hour to figure out how to set up a meeting. They just really have a lot of work to do, and that's what they want to focus on. So that was a good point.
Thank you.
If I can almost say that I view, like we say, consultants, but they're almost looking for an architect role, right? Because the Teams piece, the other pieces will just plug in as is. It's how to connect them all together. That's the architecture that needs to be brought together. And I think we're gonna see more of that as we go beyond North America and opportunities that are outside North America as well, because the state of the union outside this main market, at least for me, is not the same as where we might run into outside. In particular, I think there's so much demand, for example, going on how to deliver services. And these are US-based companies that have locations in China, India, etc. It's not trivial to solve, and it's nothing to do with the collaboration platform. It's nothing to do with the contact center application layer. It's everything to do with telephony pieces, regulation, etc. That's where all the help is needed. And that's where most of the time that I spend on our opportunities that involve Teams is on that stuff, not how does Teams work and how does our PBX work. That's now well understood.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sanjay. I see that in dealing with consultancies in Germany and France and the Netherlands, et cetera, and even in New Zealand and Australia. The way they do business is totally different, and it's a cultural, regional, and the compliances are totally different over there. And I can't tell you how many times I get on a call with a German or French consultant, I learned something new about compliances and regulations that I had no earthly idea even existed. So yes, there's another whole Pandora's box of challenges and compliances when you start going international.
Yeah, and I guess that comes down to really understanding the regulations, right? Because yeah, no, I know like analytics in Germany, I can only keep 7 days, and then you deal with Luxembourg and Switzerland, and we spent and sometimes they don't even know what the regulations are, right? And you mentioned Sanjay, India, that seems to be a bit of voodoo and mysticism. So yeah, there's a lot of complexities really to understand what the requirements are. And I agree with you, Sanjay. Like if people understand the real role of an enterprise architect, which I played for many years, and you know, it's really to say, okay, look, I want to try to build a 50-story building. Well, as an architect, you're saying, well, building it out of bricks or wood, it's not going to get you where you need to go. So, you know, I think that architect role is critical when it functions to understand what the business outcomes are, and then to bring the various components together. And I think that that's where Vonage has all these different components, for example, and same thing with Mitel, and say, okay, what can I use from Microsoft? What do I need to augment? And let me build you a solution that gets you where you want to go, right? So, I mean, that is the complexity, but that's also the stuff that I think is incredibly interesting, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So let me do this. We're actually at the top of the hour, so I'm going to interrupt you slightly. You don't even need me as the moderator because you guys are just, you know, you're doing great. I'm very disappointed though. I got to tell you, I haven't seen any paper ball throwing or mudslinging today. Okay, so I think we have to work on that for next time. I'm just kidding, of course. Let's we'll definitely thanks, Sanjay. We'll definitely go on another week, not this coming week. We'll I put Molly off twice, poor Molly. So we'll have the fiber, you know, debacle going on next week, and then we'll see if we can bring Dave and Sanjay back the following week. And then yeah, we'll talk about also, I think, use cases, user profiles. I think those are all very important, especially in the large enterprise space. And as we're finishing up here, just one comment from Frank Tersini. I'll let him talk a little bit more about it next time. But Converge One has actually come out with a monitoring tool for Microsoft Teams. Okay, and I think it's that next level of evolution for Teams. Teams is currently rated for 3 nines, not 4 nines, not 5 nines at the moment. So something else we'll talk about next time. So everyone, thanks so much for coming. And we will see you again next week for another exciting fireside chat. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Dave. And thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you. Good dialogue, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Take care now.